Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is the Arsenal Transfer Show with hopefully no more issues. My goodness me, I've been trying to sort through like a raft of technology problems and chaos, so I've not even been able to come up with an intro to today's show. So let's just bask in the glory of another David Ornstein bomber, shall we? This is the Arsenal Transfer Show. Hello and welcome. Good morning to you all. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing well. And I hope that indeed you've had a fantastic week. And thank you for making this show, as always, as much of a morning routine as it is for me and hopefully for you too. Good morning to those joining us live in the chat box this morning. Julian, Sergio, Chima. We've got John and Mr. E, Zoom. We've got Wendy. We've got Sir Nicholas, Jose, John Pershall in the chat, Mr. Sabucio, or Sabuciso, I should say. Ivan in the chat. We've got Amadou in the chat, Troy in the chat, Kevin in the chat. Thank you to you all. Alex White has become a brand new member of the channel as well. Thank you, Alex, for your kind support or continued support, if indeed it's not telling me that this is a continuation of that membership. It's weird that it does that, because obviously sometimes it comes up saying new member, and then someone says, I've been a member for like 7 years, Tom. And I'm like, okay. Fair enough. But it doesn't tell me that. So, and keeping a track of the hundreds of members we have can be tricky. But yes, it's match day. Arsenal against Aston Villa that I'm going to miss. I'm missing the game. So basically, to give you a little bit of a rundown and a sneak behind the curtain, it is my anniversary weekend this weekend. And we booked to go away. Very nice place in the East Midlands, up in Leicestershire. And so I've got a weekend off work. Don't worry, you're still going to get a show tomorrow morning from a very nice Airbnb somewhere. We booked this meal at this place that we really wanted to go to. And I've wanted to go to this place, me particularly, I guess, more than the missus, but still, it's for both of us. And we booked it for a 6:30 meal like months ago, thinking nothing really of it. And now in retrospect, I really should have booked it at 7:30 because there's always a chance that a Saturday game can get moved to 5:30. You wouldn't think that I am a journalist, would you, that would that has the incapacity of being unable to plan a meal? But yes, I'm going to be able to watch the first half, and then I will be going to the meal, and I'm going to try and basically, if we're winning and if the score's like fairly all right, I'll probably just put my phone away. And just then, but if it's kind of close or we're losing, it may be different. We'll see how we are, but then I'll catch up on it, of course, when we get back to the Airbnb, and then be ready to talk to you all about it tomorrow morning. But yeah, that's the situation that I am currently in with that. But good morning to those joining us live. Thank you so much. Do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And thank you for the very kind anniversary messages in the chat box. 2 years. 2 years on Monday it's going to be, which is kind of crazy. But so 2 years on Monday. But thank you for your kind messages in preparation for that. And Alex says it is a new membership. Here's hoping Arsenal can give me the best birthday present, and happy anniversary to you. Happy birthday to you, Alex. Have a fantastic day, my friend. Right. If you do want to hear my thoughts and the thoughts of my brilliant members, speaking of which, then please do make sure you catch up on yesterday's preview show. It is the last live upload on the channel before this one, and gives you my thoughts and the thoughts of my fantastic panel of guests, to Leo, Dan, and Kian all joined me for yesterday's show, and gave some really interesting insights as to what they think, and we gave our lineups as to what we would pick as well, which is really, really exciting to see this Arsenal team maybe with Jurriën Timber in the starting lineup. We'll talk about Mikel Arteta's press conference on this shortly. But first, Arsenal's under-21s won their game. Of course, Arsenal managed to beat Wolves last week. Well, the Arsenal Academy team and the under-21s managed to beat Wolves yesterday, which obviously was good. We had goals from Butler, Oyedeji, who actually I think got a couple of goals on the day, and Cabia also scored again. So there's some really interesting young players coming through the ranks. Miles Lewis-Skelly was involved, but there was no Ethan Nwaneri. He is, it seems, part of the senior squad, which is really exciting, and we should see him in the squad today, especially considering there will be a notable absence from the squad for the foreseeable future. And that's because, and I mentioned a David Ornstein bomber, and we got that yesterday because Fabio Vieira, according to Mr. Ornstein, has agreed a loan move back to Porto. It's still yet to be finalised and completed, but the loan has been agreed, and now it's kind of, I think Fabrizio Romano mentioned it's reliant upon one of the players in the squad maybe moving out. It's not got any kind of option to buy or obligations to buy as far as we're aware at this point in time. There's nothing of that regard involved in this deal at the moment. It's just a straight loan. I think it's a good move for Arsenal. He's still going to have a couple of years left on his contract, of course, when he comes back to the club in 2025. Hopefully he plays a lot more regularly, rediscovers his form, and who knows, either maybe can work his way back into the Arsenal squad, or, of course, indeed, build up a transfer value for him to then be sold once again next summer. It does, of course, raise a lot of questions from Arsenal fans, though, about if we're losing Vieira and we've lost Smith Rowe, is Ethan Nwaneri's promotion enough to cover those two exits in terms of attacking midfield? Now, Mikel Merino, of course, has, and we are expected to be announced very soon. He flew into London yesterday to complete a medical and, of course, to do some media, and that possibly will be continued today as well at the club. But I'm still not sure if that's enough. And I'd like Arsenal to add a forward player between now and the end of the window, and perhaps there will be one, and we'll talk more about that, I suppose, shortly. Now, Mikel Arteta conducted his press conference yesterday as well, speaking to the media. I have to say that, obviously, I'm not typically able to be present at these press conferences. My colleague Kai Karnak is there for us doing the live blog and sending in the quotes from Arteta's pressers. So I tend to watch and report from these from home at the moment. And the stream for the second week in a row was very poor. Like, I barely got any of it on the day. And I think that maybe, obviously, there's the Shubarulti Training Centre's gone for a bit of an overhaul. Maybe there's been some impact on the internet and on the streaming capabilities there. So hopefully that gets fixed soon. So it was a case of them reading back up, and you can read every word of these press conferences on the Football.London website, and of course some live updates from the press conferences on the website as well. So if you need somewhere to catch the quotes, head over to FL and it will bring them to you. He was asked immediately about Mikel Merino, and he said, "You know that I cannot talk about any player that is not with us. There is still time in the market both ways for other managers and other teams, and you can tell how busy it is getting." He was asked about whether something will happen soon, and I said, "I'm not sure. The full focus is on the players that we have at the moment, and the big matter is tomorrow against Aston Villa, and that's where we're at." He was asked about Eddie Nketiah, and he says, "I expect Eddie to train with us today and be prepared for tomorrow. And then whatever happens, it will happen if it's good for everybody." And there is, of course, this hope that a deal between Nottingham Forest and Arsenal will be agreed for Eddie Nketiah. £30 million is said to be what the agreement will be around. And that is obviously a good thing. And Arsenal bringing in significant money for the striker. He was asked about why so many Basque managers are in the Premier League. And he said, "Go to San Sebastian and come back and ask me that question. You all have to go there. It's a beautiful place, a beautiful seafront, great restaurants, and a great culture. We all have a passion and the education that we've all had, and then we all need the opportunities and chances. Someone has to believe in you." What Unai and Julen, in terms of Lopetegui, of course, and Emery, did for us was set the standard so high. They won a lot, and the way they coached their teams, the way they represented their clubs was at the highest level. And that gave a platform for younger ones like myself and Jabi and Andoni, of course, Iraola and Alonso being spoken about there, probably to earn the curiosity that there are coaches from here. So we need to be grateful to those two. And it is interesting, isn't it? He was then asked if there's a WhatsApp group between Basque managers, to which he said, no. Very flat out, no. Asked about Jurriën Timber potentially playing in midfield, he said he can play at various positions. His versatility is one of his biggest strengths. He's been out for 11 months, and it's great to have him back, and he played some quality minutes the other day, like Alex did as well. I think Alex was really good as well, especially in the first 60 minutes against Wolves. Having the capacity in the squad to change things around and find other things that the team needs in that moment is something very valuable. And yeah, that's great. Boss says, what is Basque? Basque is an area of Spain, in northern Spain, and it's where we're getting Mikel Merino from. It contains cities like San Sebastian and Bilbao, and it's a very nice area of Spain. But the weather is not like southern Spain. It would be probably fair to point out. So yeah, that's the Basque region of Spain, spelt Basque. So yes, that is that. On if Declan Rice should be seen as a 6 or an 8, he says, I think both at his age. It would be a big mistake not to do that and not to have the capacity to play in both positions. And then within the game, he will have different roles in relation to the opponents and what they do. Last year, he showed he has the ability to shift from one thing to the other, something within the game. And with the short squad that we have, that's really important. And I think that there was some really interesting quotes that came out a little bit later. He was asked about Raheem Sterling, and he says, my time with him was exceptional. I think we built a really strong relationship together. He was unbelievable at the time we worked together, and he taught me a lot as well about individuals and how players think, how we give them support and help them. He's someone that I really have strong feelings about. Now, I don't want to do the whole... is that a transfer hint? I'd be shocked if Raheem Sterling ended up at Arsenal. But interesting comments there from Mikel about Sterling. So, maybe watch this space. Anyway, a new transfer name is on the market, and I will be very pleased to tell you that his name is Gabriel, another Gabriel linked with Arsenal. This time it's 17-year-old attacking midfielder Gabriel Carvalho. I did talk actually the other day to you about how Arsenal should be looking in South America at potential talents that they might be able to bring in to the club. And according to Brazilian media, Arsenal are said to be ready to make a bid of 25 million euros for the 17-year-old attacking midfielder. However, and there is a big however with this, it is suggested that this deal is not one that would be completed until he turns 18. And he doesn't turn 18 until August of next year. So this would be a signing for 2025, not 2024. However, he's already playing in the highest level of Brazilian football at the age of 17. And as I've said before, this is an area of the world that I think Arsenal should be more astute in and and use more resources to find the right players. So not enough Gabbies? Well, maybe one more could be coming to the club in the near future. Our headline story today, however, is, of course, Nico Williams. A lot of noise has been spoken about Nico Williams, and the interest from Arsenal has never not been real. We've spoken about Nico Williams from as far back as June, July, and, of course, through the European Championships as well. He's a player that we know Mikel Arteta absolutely adores and would love to see Arsenal sign. However, there has been significant challenges and obstacles, and of course, any potential deal for Williams, his wage being one, his release clause having to be paid in full upfront being the other, and the player himself and his own motivations about whether or not he would join Arsenal or whether or not he's prioritising staying at Athletic Club, or of course waiting for a potential future move to Barcelona. It is said, though, that Arsenal's interest has not diminished and it is still there, and even some have suggested that maybe Arsenal fans could be in for a surprise in the final week of the window. I'd still err on the side of caution and tell you, of course, that I wouldn't be getting your hopes up, but it would be a brilliant move for Arsenal. I know some people have their concerns and their thoughts, but of wide players on the market at the moment, in my view, there are few better than Nico Williams. Now, there are a few better VPN services than NordVPN, so much so that there are no VPN services better than NordVPN because they are the number one VPN service to bring you the safety and security that you need online while surfing the net, keeping you safe and secure. It gives you that geolocation changing a superpower that can change you from one area to another within the territories that are supported by Nord. And if you go to nordvpn.com/Gooner, you can get a significant discount off a 1 or a 2-year plan. And if you're not happy with the service for whatever reason, you can get a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. Who can say any fairer than that? Well, I can talk about something that's really fair, and that is TGT chances of getting a football prize. We have had so many of our members and so many of our listeners get these prizes. I've seen signed Bergkamp shirts, signed Thierry Henry shirts, signed Olivier Giroud shirts, I think, maybe from memory. Loads of our members have won and loads of our listeners have won these prizes. And football prizes continue to support the channel, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of them once again on the channel as well, because I'm glad to say that they are continuing to support us on our daily shows, and I'll be bringing you information about any Arsenal-related prizes as soon as they drop. But there are some available right now, and I recommend you go over to the website, which you can find a link to in the description, and click on that competitions tab and go and have a look through what is on offer for you to potentially win. But we have a great record here at TGT of winning football prizes, and it's always great when our listeners tell us that they've won them. So if you do and you are successful, please make sure you let us know as to your winnings. Right, let's go to part 2 and your questions right after this. Right then, new season and sponsors galore. Of course, I do try to make them as what's the word? Entertaining. Now, if you're an audio listener, you won't know what I'm talking about because you don't get them on audio platforms, but you get different ones. So you're never escaping it. I have to make a living. I have to pay the bills. I'm sorry, guys, but I do try to make them as entertaining as I can for you. And of course, they are very appreciated to be sponsoring and supporting the channel as always. Right, let's jump into the chat box, shall we? And go to. In fact, what I'm first going to do is I'm going to go to my mobile phone and do something that I've never done, and that is ask for some room service because I am desperate for a glass of water. This is the only thing I'm going to get given to me all weekend over the anniversary. But I can't leave my seat. There we go. Room service ordered. Josh says, I'd love to have Nico with us as much as the next guy. Unfortunately, I just don't see it happening. I reckon he's waiting for Barca. Yeah, I'm very much with you there, Josh, and I think you are very much in the same boat as me. A Game Shot says, genuine question from yesterday, who is better than Reece but willing to sit on the bench for a lower salary? If the player is worse than Reece, who barely gets a sniff, why would we even sign the contract? And I raised this point. I said that if we aren't going to sign a wide player, we probably need to keep Reece Nelson. Like, we absolutely need to keep Reece Nelson. And it would just make no sense to do it. It would absolutely make no sense whatsoever to move on from Nelson without getting that player in. So hopefully we do get some decent money, and hopefully we do reinvest it in a very good player that's going to add something to the team. Bailey says, hi, Tom. I'm going to my first ever away game today. What's your favourite stadium you've ever been to that isn't Highbury or the Emirates? So as a fan, I haven't been to too many away games. As a journalist, I've been to loads. But as a fan, I've been to Leicester, and I've been to Palace. I've been to... I think that might be it. As I say, as a fan, it's really hard to get to away games as supporters because obviously you have to build up your points and stuff. So it's been a long time. Selhurst Park is not a nice place in terms of like your seating for away fans. It's not the best, but in terms of like your classic football ground, Palace is great, and it's always like a humbling experience as a fan, I think, going back there. But as a journalist, Manchester City have got an amazing ground. I'm trying to think now who's got the best hospitality for journalists. Anfield's pretty good. They had a cheese board, and I love a cheese board, so I kind of rated that from Anfield. What else? Who else is good? Leicester's quite, I think. Leicester's good. And I've been there as a fan as well. Manchester United is not. It's tiny. It's cramped. My laptop's actually bigger than the table. That's not a flex, by the way. It just is. The little table, like the pull down table, because an old stadium is Old Trafford. So like the table's actually thinner, and it's got like these borders to the table, so like these little edges to it. So you can't even put your laptop flat on the table if it's slightly oversized, and it's not a big laptop. It's like 15 inches or whatever. So, and it just doesn't, I can tell someone's going to clip that and play that back. That's going to sound terrible, but you know what I mean. You get where I'm going. So Nicholas says, how are Barca going to be able to afford him any time in the near future? They can't even get Olmo into the squad at the moment. Yeah, you're not wrong. And I don't think you're going to be too far away from the truth, and maybe that's why they obviously haven't moved for him this summer. Chunho says, do you think that we'll get a forward by the end of the window? If so, who do you think we will get? I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know. I could not give you a name. I genuinely couldn't give you a name. It is that kind of up in the air. I wouldn't go as far as saying Williams because I struggle seeing that one happening. I just struggle seeing it happening. So I couldn't give you a name. I want to be optimistic, about signing a forward player. I'm just struggling with it. I'm really struggling with it. Maybe a name will come out of completely nowhere, and then all of a sudden we will enjoy it. But at the moment, I cannot see it happening. I really want to be optimistic, but at the moment it's tricky. Andy says, do you honestly see the signing of a third player? Again, Andy, I do, because I think a goalkeeper will come in. I think Ramsdale will go, and I think we'll sign Jean Garcia. But beyond that, I'm struggling a lot right now. Schlamed says, I want Arsenal's new jersey signed by the first team at the Adidas promo at the LA store for the Man United game versus Arsenal in LA. And it was great to meet the Arsenal players and Man United legends as well. Well, congratulations. What a great prize. I hope you enjoyed your... and I hope all of our American listeners, of course, who went to the tour had an amazing time because it was a great success. Thank you. There you go. Perfect. Right. Harsh says, hi, Tom. Since Vieira will depart, should we target an attacking midfielder, a right winger profile like Brahim Diaz or Eze, as we cannot rely on Ranieri and Nelson to cover for Ødegaard and Saka? I think that signing an attacking midfielder or like a wide player that can play across multiple positions has always been the plan. I do think that is the way in which we move forward. But that said, like if we go and suddenly sign, like an Eze, and add like an Eze to the fold, I'm not necessarily thinking that's the right profile, because I think it blocks Nwaneri. I don't think he gets necessarily enough minutes because Ødegaard's playing. Mikel Merino, I think, is going to play on the left 8 role. And yeah, it's really difficult. Ethan Nwaneri, who, by the way, it's pronounced Nwaneri, as we heard, has played predominantly through the middle as kind of a number 10. However, he can play in a wide area and has played in wide areas for Arsenal's under-21s. And we saw him play in the wide left position and get that assist for Gabriel Jesus. And we also saw him play against Bournemouth in a wide right position as well. So he can play in these multiple roles. He can play in wide positions, and he's only 17 years of age. So don't let anyone tell you that Nwaneri can't play this or Nwaneri can't play that, because he's 17. He's still in a very much a position where he's going to develop, he's going to grow, he's going to be used in different roles, used in different positions on the pitch. And so for that reason, yeah, don't let anyone tell you that he can't or shouldn't be playing in other positions, because that's not the case. There's still got to be an openness about where these players are at and about, how they may specialize between now and, when they reach their more established positions in the squad. He is predominantly, yes, an attacking midfielder that plays centrally, but definitely I think we'll be seeing him utilised in wide positions as well, especially if we don't sign a wide player. Aaron says, Tom Nketiah in the first team will be the starting in certain hard games to still prove his point for a bigger price tag with his transfer ahead. I'd be interested to see how he is used, at this level. And I mean, in terms of this weekend, because if he is in the squad, people will take, indications about how far the transfer is at that point. If he's not in the squad, that's quite telling. So I guess we'll see. Martin says Ethan should have had a year on loan. I mean, Martin, to be fair, this is the first year he ever could have gone on loan. He couldn't have ever gone on loan before. This is the first year he could have gone on loan. And to be honest, I mean, Saka didn't go on loan. He's not been on loan and didn't need it. If your player is good enough and you can't, and to be honest, there is no guarantee that by sending these kids on loans, all of a sudden it's going to be a massive success. I mean, look at Charlie Patino, 67 championship appearances, sold for £1 million, with obviously a lot of benefits to Arsenal as well. But it's no guarantee that these players are going to succeed or get the minutes that they need. And, I think Arsenal would rather be in full control of Ethan Nwaneri and his progress and hopefully his opportunities as well. And I hope to see that, with integration into the first team this season. Josh says, Tom, what's your favourite part about the stadium tour? I think walking out the tunnel is incredible. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's difficult to take it for granted sometimes. I've been in a very fortunate position to actually be in the dressing rooms, play a game at the Emirates, and it's an amazing experience. And just, it's because for anyone that goes to the Emirates often, it's really hard sometimes to not take that for granted. There is millions of Arsenal fans around the world, and only 60,000, less than that, get to go to the ground each week. And it is an amazing privilege to be able to do that. So, yeah, the walking out the tunnel is I did the tour. That's the first thing I ever did when I was a youngster with the Emirates, before I saw a game there. And yeah, walking out the tunnel is very special, and seeing the dressing rooms is very special. Stepping onto the pitch is absolutely beyond anything feeling wise other than my wedding, I guess I should probably say. Albrecht says Jesus and Nelson could see a good number of minutes with Smith Rowe, plus Vieira and Nketiah are likely to leave as well. And you're not wrong. Absolutely. Aviri says, hello, Tom. Been following your live show for over a year now and always a joy to be here. Thank you, mate. Do you think Nico Williams can be able to play both Saka and Martinelli's role? Yeah, I do. I do see him as a player that can offer abilities on both sides. He isn't a left-footed right winger. He is a right-footed left winger as a predominance, but you saw him in the game against England in the final popping up on the right-hand side, and I think he can operate on that and has operated at that on that right flank a number of times consistently for Athletic. So, yeah, I think he would be a very good addition. And I really do hope that it happens. I just don't see it happening. You know, I'm manifesting it. I'm willing it into existence, but it's really hard to see that going through. A couple more. Wayne says, have you heard anything about the rumours that Jesus and Martinelli are injured? They've not been pitched in training. I've heard nothing, Wayne, about that, to be honest. I did see a video of Jesus actually in training, so I don't know where that's come from. Gary says, can't think of a recent Arsenal youth player going on loan and coming back and making it into the first team since Ashley Cole. Can you correct me? Jack Wilshere went on loan to Bolton and came back and integrated into the first team. Eddie Nketiah went to Leeds, came back. Saliba went to Saint-Etienne and Nice and Marseille, came back, integrated into the first team. But I guess he's probably not a youth player. He has played for the youth team, but probably not a youth player. Smith Rowe went to Leipzig and Huddersfield, came back and integrated into the first team. And others, Nketiah I've mentioned. Nelson went to Hoffenheim and Feyenoord, came back and has been part of the first team squad. Emi Martinez went to Reading and Watford, I think. Hector Bellerin went to Watford, I think. Coquelin went to Charlton, came back and integrated into the squad. I guess the answer to your question, Gary, is there's quite a few, but it's easily forgotten. It's very easily forgotten, isn't it? So, yeah, I think that maybe shows, the reality of the situation. Actually, it does happen. But more recently, I guess that there are examples of, players like Brooke Norton-Cuffy and Charlie Patino and Mika Biereth and, players that have had mixed results. In some cases, good, like Biereth, been sold. Some cases, not good, like Patino, been sold. Miguel Aziz, another example, another player whose loans didn't really do anything for him and has now left. So, yeah, it's no guarantee that a loan deal really helps a player, but it definitely can. But in some cases, you'd rather not do that and bring the player back, or rather keep the player. And I think Nwaneri falls into that. Tyrese John Jules, Ajmal, another really good example. Yes, definitely. Charles Sago Jr. went to Swansea last season, didn't play, I think played like 10 minutes of football. It's never a guarantee that loans help players. It just isn't. And so Arsenal are always very careful. We have a new guy in charge of loan development and pathways. Sam Habel took over from Ben Napper recently, and hopefully that will see an improvement in the loan department. But Nwaneri, I think it's fine that he stays. Raf says, I hope we buy a winger that's adequate competition for first team rather than a backup for the left and right. I think that's a better sell than Saka's backup. Still time. Trouble is, Raf, is finding them in it. It's finding that player, who that player is, and convincing them that you're going to effectively be playing, in competition with Saka and Martinelli and these players. It's going to be very hard indeed. Anyway, I'm going to wrap the show up there, mainly because I need to, because we've got things to do and places to go and people to see. So thank you for all your time this morning, tuning in, and of course, throughout the course of the season so far. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, giving you a reaction to my thoughts of seeing two halves of a broken up Aston Villa game, because as I mentioned, it's my anniversary weekend and I'm missing the second half of the game, but I will be catching up on it to be able to talk to you about it all tomorrow morning, bright and early at 8 a.m. Make sure that you go and watch our preview show, of course, that was available for you on the last live upload on the channel. If you want to see more of my face and the face of our members and the listeners as well, do go over and watch our preview show ahead of today's game. Have a fantastic rest of your Saturday. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy, respectful, and all that lovely jubbly stuff. And as always, up the Arsenal.